Are you ready to take your organization to the next level and become a game changer in your industry? Then look no further. Welcome to Yeukai Business Show, where we bring you the world's top business thought leaders to share their secrets to success, from leadership development to finance, marketing, self-development, human resource management, and much, much more. Our guests reveal the strategies, tactics, and mindsets that have made them so successful. So let's dive in and learn from the best in the business. Hello, and welcome to the greatest show on planet Earth. I love to say that. Thanks again for joining us here on the Business Show. We truly honor you and love having you here. And thank you. There's so much happening in the community, and you are part of that community, spreading the word out there. Truly appreciate you. And today, we have another special guest, and we are going to find out how our guests got started, some of the things that they did, and perhaps, in fact, I'll tell you the reason why we take time to talk about how others got started, what are their success, because we can learn from other people's failures, you know that, and we can also learn from other people's success. We can also learn about other people's stumbling blocks or those blockages along the way. So we are going to have a great time. Now, before I introduce our guests here today, I want to encourage you, if you're not yet already part of our community, you need to become part of the community. It's very easy. There is a link below this recording that you just click and you'll be taken straight to the community. And once you are in there, don't be an spectator. Be a participant. Ask questions. Talk about what's working for you. If you've got any questions that you need help with, ask. We are on the same ship. We want to do the same things. We all want to succeed. We all want to do very well. We all want to contribute. We all want to be loved. Let's go and make it happen in there. Well, enough of that. Thank you so much for joining us here today. And I know there's a few people that don't know your background, or your education or your experience in this area. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started, what you've done, some of the people you've helped, and why our conversation here is relevant? And perhaps you could just add in there the last one, were you an overnight success? If not, what is it that you did that has kept you on the path, for you to become the exceptional success that you are today?
Well, there is no such thing as an overnight success. I will tell you that. But it's very optimistic to think like that. No, my overnight success story was never overnight. In fact, it probably took decades, to be completely honest with you. But that's the last question, so I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. When did this first start with me? Well, my parents, my family, but we are all credit people to this day. It was half entertainment and half entrepreneurial and humanitarian. I was raised in Texas before I moved to Los Angeles. I was raised in public school. I was raised before I've been in the city my entire life. Before that, after the age of 2, being in a small town at the age of 2, with a church on every corner, and then I moved to the public schools, and I lived in a neighborhood. So yeah, I'm a city girl completely. But So as my life was unfolding, I grew up an entrepreneur and a humanitarian's daughter. My parents would take me with them as they picked up rent, as they checked, because they were landlords in real estate. They owned properties and such. And so I would go with them. I would go with them to check on things. I would go with them to get rent. Now, I was an extraordinary kid for my other fellow neighborhood kids or for other children around me. I that was an extraordinary situation because no other kid around me went to work with their parents. But because I was out of school, this was just the particular scenario for my parents. And I was just like that. And so that became a part of my job. Now, when I say that that became a part of my job, I did not choose that path as I got older. I chose the path of entertainment. And so what did I do? I didn't go out and purchase, my first piece of land on a loan or anything like that with an investment with my first job. I did not choose real estate, and probably until my late 30s. It will be my late 30s because I will inherit properties. But no, that was not my career path when I first started out. I chose entertainment. I chose writing. I chose motivational. So how did I get started? I was first 17 years old when I first spoke in front of a bunch of high school students. And this thrilled me because an opportunity was given to me because I was never around any kids my own age. I always had an old soul. So I would flock to those that were older than me that were already doing motivation in their life. And so it just came easy to me. And they wanted to talk about that with me. And so that just blossomed. And relationships were formed because I had an old soul in this. I had an old soul in writing. I knew that I was going to be writing scripts one day. I knew that I was going to be in front of actors like Miley Cyrus, Jamie Lynn Spears. I knew that I had seen, Barbara Streisand in movies, and I knew I was going to meet her. I mean, I knew I was going to have encounters with people, but I also knew that I was going to be working with creative people someday. I wasn't going to meet every single celebrity, and it was not about that to me, but I knew that I was going to be in places where I was going to be working with very creative writers and very creative encounters. And I knew that this would be a love that I would have. So that the kind of things that the experience that I've had, I saw missionary work and I saw humanitarian. My parents were great. My mother was a great humanitarian and entrepreneur. So I already had that influence over me. So I chose people. I didn't choose real estate, but I chose people because of how she raised me and my siblings. I was raised like that. So it was one of those things where that was already in my blood. And, she was already in real estate. My parents were already in real estate. So, I mean, the humanitarian aspect of her was important as she instilled it into us a little bit more than real estate. So it became more of about people than about a business to her, which is exactly how we were raised. It's exactly the path that she made sure we walked in. And so the experiences that I have in my expertise, I have experience as an entrepreneur from my book, Higher Living. It just hit #1 in Las Vegas. I'm very happy about that. And yeah, so motivation became the source already on top of being a humanitarian. Think of being a 17-year-old and speaking in front of high school students and getting very positive feedback from that. Normally motivational speakers do not start at the age of 17. They start at way older in life. They start probably in their late, 30 to 40s age range. And so I was getting very positive feedback. This was amazing to me. This was starting in a career path of communication with people, which I already found very natural. So no, I was not an overnight success, but I'd like to think that unregretfully, because of the love for what I have for what I do as an author, as an artist, portrait painter, and an impressionist painter, and as an actress and in comedy, and as a TV host for a fashion network. No, I like to think that I was an overnight success, because in my mind I was success because I was loving what I do.
Wow. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Love that. I appreciate what you just shared there, because, I can see myself in there and in some of those things. In fact, I don't know, maybe just me, in talking to so many people, I find that there is some similarities in what all of us as entrepreneur business owners go through. And this, again, helps anybody who's coming into our world to find out that whatever they're going through is not quite unique to them. It happens to all of us. It's a journey that we all go through. Let's talk about some of the roadblocks that you had to face earlier on and how you overcame them.
Oh, that's such a good question. On top of being a 5'2.5", petite woman in Hollywood, being blonde hair and blue eyed is great. Being a brunette and a blue eyed, or a brunette and a whatever your hair color, whatever your eye color, doesn't matter. Whatever you are, just to be short is perfect for the camera. But no one says anything until you're in front of the camera that it's okay, because of the camera and because of how the camera captures you. Before that, height was absolutely a problem for me. Yes. I was in my own shell, so I never knew that height mattered. I was always okay with it because I come from a petite mother. My mother was very petite. All the women in my life were petite. I had some, tall cousins, but that didn't matter to me because it never really occurred to me that my height was ever an issue. Now, in fashion, it absolutely is. You have to be a certain height for runway in fashion. You have to be a certain this, a certain that. And in entertainment, everyone's going to tell you need more of this, you need less of that, and they're going to critique your image down to a T. So, and I never knew the extent of this. And so like I said, I was in my own shell. So the roadblocks for me were not just my height, but I also had a parent that was diagnosed bipolar. So it was never easy for me. I got diagnosed many things that no one could ever figure out. So my teachers didn't know what to do with me. And I was creative on top of that. And I had no filter on top of being a brutally honest, creative kid that I was. So I would say whatever. I was very shy. I didn't know how to make friends, type of thing. I didn't know how. I didn't know the way. That didn't blossom for me. It didn't come as quickly. I didn't blossom in that as an early childhood type of deal. So that was interesting. Later on is when that fully developed. And that's okay, because time does heal things, and time does, respond, and time does, heal and mend. So the roadblocks were height. The roadblocks were apparent, with that. And because as a result, I always thought that I was in a shadow, and I was always in my own shell and in a shadow. And so writing, it was actually a gift in disguise, because on top of abuse, and on top of mislabeling, and on top of misunderstanding, came the gift of writing, came the gift of seeing things, came the gift of vision, of a dreamer, of being a dreamer, and becoming more and more of a dreamer, and stepping into that. How did I overcome them? This was how I overcame them. I just kind of stayed in my shell. I was never the type of person that cared about what people thought. So this came as a gift, a total gift. Did it make me always want to do what people said? Did it make me a rebel? Absolutely. So, I kind of had to work some tweaks. I had to tweak myself a little bit and kind of just listen more. And learn and train myself in communication more. And God bless my mother for that, because people, you need the grounding. At that point, you need people around you who care enough to ground you, and care enough to say, now what did I say, back, and help you to repeat what they said back to you, and help you with your listening skills, help you figure people out, help you to read books and recommend books to you, and things like that. So overcoming is really learning disguised. Overcoming is just another word for learning, and learning and growth, learning and growth. And I've read many books in my short time on this earth. I've read many good books, love languages, and other than my own, many motivationals, motivational, a lot of books, psychological books, and books to figure it out, and reading books on narcissists and predatorial behavior, and realizing, for the roadblocks that come into your life, that you don't have to kind of feed into that roadblock, and that others sometimes might be your roadblock, and also books on sabotage, because as creative people, oftentimes when I'm around other creative and motivational success stories, sometimes you can be really negative and internalize that within yourself. So that's really how I overcome them. Just read and grow and be you, and listen to positivity, listen to encouragement, the word. I mean, just kind of grow up and love people, accept yourself, accept yourself, love people, just learn to grow, learn to not always talk, learn, and to just keep going, and, just listen. Listening is key. Listening and smiling more and just grow.
Awesome. And did you have any tools or resources that you used earlier on in this area?
Well, this was in the 90s, and I'm not giving out my age, but this was when there were no tools. This was when, oh, you're diagnosed? Oh, okay. Let me think of a therapist. Can't think of one right now. No, there were no tools. There was limited tools for me. There were limited tools for my family members. There were limited tools. There really is a limited tool. You have to really have the desire. You have to have the desire to grow. You have to have the desire to want to be generous to somebody and want to serve others and want to help and want to achieve so we had very limited I had very limited tools and resources as a person, even in friendships. They say success is lonely, and that's absolutely the truest state. So what tools and resources did I use early on in my area of expert efforts? I used the tool of a pen and a piece of paper, of a laptop. I used that tool. I used the tool of a phone. I used the tools that I had. I used the tools. To me, I wasn't so much of a reader then as I am now, but I still read. So just research. The tools that I had were, I went to acting classes are in lieu of tools and resources that I used. I went to acting classes, and acting classes were what I knew. I didn't go to art classes then. I didn't go to psychology classes. I didn't have therapy when I was a kid. I wish I did have more therapy when I was a kid. That probably would have helped me a little bit more. But, therapy was not something that church could solve, is the way I was raised in the community. I was around religious kids my age, and, I was around public school friends that I had. And, those public school friends also lived in my neighborhood. So everyone knew what everyone was going through anyway. Everything was kind of in the open because I was not the only one that had no filter. As a kid, we all just shared everything with each other because our house had food, and whoever's house had food for the evening was where all the neighborhood kids would go. I mean, we grew up that way even into our early and late teens. I mean, we always knew that there was, whatever house we were going into, we all knew each other quite well. We were all practically family. We knew that we could go over and just eat dessert in someone's house because there was always food on their buffet table and things like that. I mean, we just did everything as neighborhood kids. And when there was not that, there was, community and things like that. So very limited tools, and you just relied on community. You relied on things from the 90s to into the 2000s, and things were not heightened. There was little awareness like there is now. There's way more awareness now. There's way more things now. You don't even have to leave your house these days. So for me, it was pen and paper. To me, it was a laptop. To me, it was my toys, the things that I had. But to me, it was classes, acting classes. To me, it was school. To me, it was my church and whatever counselors were available then. And to me, it was basically my prayer life. That's different to so many, their prayer life. Some consider themselves religious. Some consider themselves spiritual. Some consider themselves nothing. Which is fine. To each their own. But to me, my prayer life, and I was raised to rely on a prayer life. I was raised to rely on the things that I had already had, and to be thankful for those things, because those things were even more limited in the previous generations before me.
I think I know the answer to my next question here, but for the benefit of everybody listening, especially my dear friend Bill over there, Bill, don't worry. So I'm putting you on the spot there, brother. But let's just dive deep. Did you have any early mentors, or did you figure out all this by yourself?
Did I have any mentors? Yes, I had mentors. I still have mentors. I had close mentors, and then I had distant mentors. This goes back to the tools and resources question. The internet's a very powerful tool and a resource. And I learned this in college when I was doing college online, and I basically was not one of those people that even chose to go to a university. I didn't have time for that. To me, like I said, the love of what I did took over. This left no time to just kind of sit in a class, and I had no time for that. So I just took it online with a bunch of coffee and a bunch of late night and a bunch of essays. So to me, that the internet will always be a very powerful. It's the most powerful tool there is. It's in the power of Google, the power of research, the power of a search engine. So the internet is the internet and the phone, are the most powerful tools. So this allows us to really find mentors at a distance and mentors that we keep close. And absolutely, I'm not going to name some because a few are very extremely well known. And there are others that, yes, I do have mentors that are very distant that I very much admire. I admire all my mentors. Some the close ones are very motivational. They're speaking mentors. They're writing mentors. They are the mentors of author. Then you have your mentors of entertainers, those that have already been directors, those that have already directed their 20 films, and they're on their 21st film of producing and directing their own. They went from being an actor to producing and directing and starring in their own movie. And that's very rarely done in Hollywood, in entertainment industry. That's never really done. And so, yes, there are my mentors in entertainment. There are my mentors. It depends on the area. There are my mentors in motivation. There are my religious mentors. It just depends on what mentor you're looking for. There's a mentor also of a book. You can have a mentor in a book. There are so many resources. So did I have books? I absolutely did. The Obstacles of the Mind and different things like that. And seven highly effective habits of a business person. That's a really good book that I highly recommend. The Love Languages by, I think it's Gary Brigham, something like that. Many, many different authors that I hope, whose names I do not butcher. And like I said, books can be. Did I have to figure it all out on my own? Yes, the majority, probably about 60 to 75 or to 78%. Yes, I did. The other of it was just encounters, religious encounters, and then relationships were both from there. Entertainment encounters and the relationships that were formed on set that have blossomed even to this day. And never, ever lose touch with people. Never forget people's names and never lose touch with people is what I've learned. These are two powerful names, These are two powerful aspects in remembering. Always remember a name and always keep going and building relationships and continuing on. Those are two completely important aspects as a human being, not just as an entrepreneur and entertainer. And these are things that I've had to figure out the hard way, it's been a blessing to me to figure it out though. So better figure it out than not at all, or late than not at all. So did I have any early mentors? Yes, I have. And I highly encourage others to find mentors. And if you cannot find anybody that will give you the time and will mentor you, please, please do not let that stop you. Find a mentor, even if they have to be at a distance. Find a mentor in a book, not even just in a person. There's so many different forms of a mentor out there. Think outside of the box. I very much had to, because of the obstacles that I had growing up. I was also the baby of the family. I was a very motivational and highly energetic person because of ADHD, ADD, and so I wouldn't stop if I found someone who didn't pay attention to me the way my family was paying attention to me, because I was the brute of the family. Go after something. How badly do you want it?
I thought you would say that because I personally had both. Had the mentors, which I'm so grateful. Some of them are now my friends at this stage. And the funny thing is, I'm also their mentor on certain aspects of things. So it's a funny world that we live in because, they mentor me on one aspect of business, and I mentor them now on another aspect of business, because you cannot know everything in the world of business. That's why you need mentors, you need advisors, all people who have got different expertise. So I love what you've just shared there. And also, I had to discover certain things myself. You just have to go in there and you know that, okay, this works and this doesn't. So a combination of the two has worked specifically for me. Let's talk about your first major breakthrough in this area. How did it come about and what did it do for you in your own belief about your abilities and perhaps in this concept?
My first major breakthrough in my area of expertise was being on set. I loved when I first got to travel overseas as a humanitarian to carry out the family business and to carry out the heartbeat of my family, to carry out the heartbeat of being a better person. But absolutely being on set was my biggest breakthrough. Being on set and seeing how the set life was, to see how the lingo and the language of the set was, anywhere from the director to the extra, anywhere from the cast and crew to the catering area, in the setup and the breakdown, the lights, camera, action, the makeup, the wardrobe, the editing, the things like that, and editing, the things that were behind the scenes that I would never be able to see, that I was never going to be able to see, and unless you were very powerful on set, you were not going to be a part of the editing. You were not going to be a part of the behind the scenes process. You were not going to be a part of the distribution. That would come later on, and the more higher up the chain you went of command in entertainment. And so, to me, my first major breakthrough in my area was being on set, to me, because to me that was a world that I could never be in. And so being on set and hearing the language was my first, having, if my first book published was amazing, but my first breakthrough was being on set and seeing the thrill and feeling the energy of that, for sure.
I've discovered that people understand certain concepts through stories. And I'm wondering, is there any one particular story or example you would like to share that really sums up your early experience in this area?
There is one story in particular, yes. I went on an audition with my older sibling, and they were a model. They did modeling and acting, and they were a professional model. They took me in their car, and my sibling was way older than me, and so I thought it was the coolest thing to go with them and in their car and riding in their car. Well, at the audition, you gave your headshot and your resume. Headshot. This was old school. This was in the early 2000s when you did have to do this. A headshot on one face and the resume, facing downward on the other side, and stapled together. Do you? I don't know if anybody remembers those. But anyway, everything's done electronically these days, and comp cards and all that. You don't even really need paper anymore, and unless you do it the old school way, which I believe in. There was one. He gave his, and they said, "Well, that's great, but I need your little. I need hers too." And we kind of looked up and because oh, well, I don't have one. I don't have a headshot. I mean, this was way before I started writing. I mean, I wanted to be a writer. I grew up and I as a young kid, but before I truly grew up, I didn't even think about acting. And my older siblings were the ones that influenced me in that sort of thing, and I thought people on TV were just so cool, but I never thought I could do it. Like I said, it was just it's just such a far reach away. It became a reality with my older sibling, but it became even more of a reality when they said, "Yes, we want a headshot from you. You have the cutest little face." And to me, I thought my face was really average looking. I never really thought too much about it until they said something. And, it was from then on. And, I started to believe that I had a really cute face and that I had a cute demeanor. And I started to believe that I really did need a headshot and a resume, and it started there.
Indeed. I'm just wondering, how is the world in this area different now than when you got started? Because I can imagine that things are quite different from when you started back then.
The world that I'm in two different worlds, is very different. First of all, everything's done virtually now, or almost everything is done virtually. You can no longer have the option. I actually had to go to acting classes when I was younger. I had to actually print and pass on my headshot and resume, staple them, print out more, which costed barely anything, just some time and some money, but I actually had to do it manually. I had to pass out my headshot and resume. I had to actually drop it off definitely in agencies, and this worked out very, very well because they actually saw you. They saw you to care enough to take the time, and they saw your face, and you could drop off your headshot and resume, and hopefully when they were out of the meeting, they could shake your hand. And this was before I met my agents and managers. And this was great. Now everything is done electronically, and it's completely cut off interaction. Some is a good thing, others is not. It's very different too. You can have book signing events virtually now. I opt out of that, although I do sign electronically if it's requested. I book my own book signings in person. I actually love to show people respect and appreciation who took the time to purchase my book and wanted me to sign and are going to read it and have read it. And I've touched many, and the whole world is completely different. And the world that I'm in is actually completely changed because it's cut off the power of distribution companies and studio heads and companies, and given other powers gained others more power. And we're living in a virtual generation.
I'm curious, if you had to start all over again in this area, in today's world, with today's tools, time constraints, which you all have, and other factors, what would you do perhaps differently, more of, or perhaps even less of, or maybe faster? What would you do different? Or maybe you would not do at all? I'm curious if you could help us maybe paint a better picture of what we can expect now.
I would do anything differently? No, not at all, because I don't have any regrets. What would I do more of? I would have done more classes. I would have done more research. I would have started somewhere. I would have probably invested into more property, because I saw that done growing up. So I probably would have done that way earlier on than what I'm doing now, because they're not making any more land, and because of the influences, and because there's such awareness for everything. Now, I would have embraced that in my upbringing. What would I have done less of? I would have done less school, believe it or not. I would have started charter. I probably would have tried to beg my parents to homeschool me earlier on. I would have found it would probably have been not as great socially for me, but I would have figured it out. What would I have done less of? I would have done less television, probably, because I already had a love for it. I was an obsessor of TV watching, of entertainment watching. I would have watched less movies, or I would have focused more on certain movies that inspired me to write scripts early on. What would I have done faster? I would have done my purpose faster. I would have spoken to more people earlier on, and I would have applied myself way faster. I would have submitted my resume and headshot, way faster. I would have done that. I would have had those encounters with those agencies and things, and gotten my face more out there for people. What would I have done faster? Not really much of anything at that point, other than I would have tried to, effectively made human interaction before, because had I known today how little human interaction there was going to be, I probably would have tried my best to make more human interaction faster, because it's being cut off now. Not at all. I wouldn't change anything at all overall. Yeah, so overall, you get the good and the bad and the ugly. This is just the world, and beautiful and terrible things will happen.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And in your opinion, where should people like me, business owners, focus their efforts if they want to succeed in both the short term and the long term?
Business owners should focus their efforts, if they want to succeed in both short term and long term, on real estate. And there's a quote by Charles Darwin that I love so much. that states it is not the most intellectual, it's not the smartest or the fittest that survive, but the species that survive is the one that is able to adapt and adjust to the changing environment in which it finds itself. So bottom line, some are not willing to really adjust to this environment. It is not the strongest nor the fittest that survive. It is those species that are willing to adjust and adapt to the environment in which is constantly evolving. It's a quote by Charles Darwin. Yeah, I would absolutely agree with him. It is not the strongest nor the fittest who survive. It is the species that are willing to adapt and change to the environment in which they're given. The environment that we're given is real estate and land, and that is the only thing that is remaining. And so I would encourage business owners to focus their efforts in real estate, both short-term and long-term, however they can. Real estate, yes. So real estate and, real estate and stocks, really. Real estate, whatever the future is. I don't know about everything out there as far as Bitcoin and things like that. I've heard some things, but you got to also watch some other things. Things can definitely be a scam, and others, so it's to each their own. You have to go with your gut. You have to go by wisdom. You gotta go. You can't just buy into everything. But they're not making any more land. This is the bottom line. So if you're willing to adapt and adjust to that, and the place, that's where everyone's going. We're going back to land. We're going back to growing things up. We're going to the natural earth. We're definitely going back to that and to growing our own, and relying on our own, because there are others out there and there are leaders out there that want us to completely lean into them, and that's just not smartest. So I would say this for short term and long term.
Awesome. I'm a great believer in tools, be it online or offline, to help speed the whole thing. In your experience or in your professional expertise, what sort of tools would you recommend that business owners like me needs to use, or perhaps just know about?
Okay, I can't say this enough. Books, phone apps, offline, online, the phone apps to use, if we're talking just any, Facebook. This will never go out. Do you know why? The Facebook owner, he made sure that Facebook will never die. So, Facebook is the thing of the past. No, it's not. No. False. Very false. What is going to be the thing of the past is other apps, and how the Facebook owner, Zuckerberg, is not going to make sure that happens. He's going to buy everyone out, which he already has. So Facebook, I don't care who's told you what about the fact that it's going out of style. It will never go out of style. I'm sorry, it's here to stay. So as far as Instagram and all that kind of stuff, have accounts, yes. Create content, monetize that content. Make sure that you have something to sell, a product to sell. Also read books on how to get 20 million plus followers. Read books on that. Read books on the psychologically of selling and persuasion, those kind of things. So online phone apps, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, these things will never go out of style, but always make sure you are posting about something. Always make sure that is done. Sell a product, sell something funny, sell something, sell a product, be funny, be relatable, be truthful, but also stay connected. Offline, there are books out there. Business owners need to know that when you post something that no one that is monumental for what you've done, post about it. I once heard a guy said that he literally just randomly bought a town with his money and posted on Facebook, and he literally got like 1,000 plus 1 million hits. This is not a strange occurrence. People like to know. They're nosy. So keep up on apps. Keep up on apps and phone apps and things like that. Definitely keep content on that. Within limitations, you can absolutely stay off the grid should you want to do that. And offline, I would say just keep in mental health, because it can get kind of crazy when you spend a lot of time on social media. A lot of people try to get off, and they're very wise for that, because you'll buy into it, because because it's a dirty trap, at times, and other times the biggest blessing. So offline, yes, books, mental health, and just staying healthy mentally and soul, which is exactly what I encourage on my book and reading my book, and just staying connected with family and just getting out so much of the virtually. But yes, for online and phone apps, I absolutely encourage you to keep up your Facebook, continue your Instagram, continue your TikTok. What are you selling? Sell it, use it to your advantage, use it to the product. You can pretty much, with enough persuasion and marketing, you can sell pretty much anything.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. This is incredible. I love those tools. Absolutely wonderful. Now, let's talk about time management, because one of the things that we struggle with as business owners, especially at the level that we are playing on, and I know many of you, our listeners here, do the same thing, is having a very good time management. And would you have any tips for time management when it comes to this area?
Yes, for time management, it goes back to the Pomodoro technique. Francesco Cirillo, kitchen time is what it was called. So basically, this guy in the kitchen, this Italian man, would set a kitchen. He would cook a tomato in a kitchen, and he would set a timer for 25 minutes. And then after the timer, he would take a 3-minute break, and he would do this task. And over time, he would do this 3 more times before taking an extended break. And basically what this did, would this help him time management, and it helped him complete every single task within this time frame that he wanted. Now, this is for time management. And I can tell you, a lot of people don't time manage because they spend so much time in trying to complete the tasks that most men and business women, most business women, men and women, don't even know even about the plant theory that, that they say, well, I'm an emotional this, and I don't know how to balance everything. Balance is also people's problem. And then there's the plant theory. The plant technique is what people don't know, is they literally carry the plant with them. It's almost like their crutch. They tell things to the plant that they wouldn't be able to tell to their family, and then when they go home, they put the plant away. So basically, they're able to exert the amount of emotional things, stuff like that, this and that, and they would exert all the emotional extra baggage, and they would tell them things about their work, and they would tell them, things about their job and the frustrations of their job and this and that. And so they would tell those things. Then finally, when they got home, they would rest the plant just somewhere in the beginning of their house, and just they would leave the plant alone, and the rest of the night would be toward their family. So that's another way to time manage with your family and separate certain areas of your life. But yeah, I would go back to the tomato technique, to the Pomodoro technique with Francis Cirillo. I believe it was 1983, a kitchen time. And people can definitely set timers for 25 minutes and take a 3-minute break. That way their task gets done. So I would highly encourage whatever technique works for you.
Where would you get perhaps news or updates about this area that, Bill, in our audience and anybody listening, that you perhaps trust, or the people you trust, that we can put in our black book, so to speak? Everybody knows about the black book that we have here. In your experience, where would you get your updates in this area and the news of what is happening in this world?
You can get anywhere. You can get it on your phone and apps on your phone. You can get it from the news. You can get it from anywhere. Sites that I trust are definitely sites that are validated sites, and be sure and protected when it comes to certain sites. You don't want any false sites, so make sure the site is validated, and make sure it is a legitimate site. Some sites that I would recommend for business owners, Alignable is a really good one. There's LinkedIn sites. There's, your own website, which I have my own website on my social media page. Yeah, so there's your website, there's your LinkedIn's, and certain sites that you can be on. Yeah, it used to be Craigslist many years ago. You can just put your information on different sites. The sites that I really trust right now are podcast sites and just things like that. Authors' websites, Barnes and Nobles are really good sites. books to read and things like that. Business websites. There are a ton of business websites. Just I would Google it and I would research if I were you. People that you trust. You really can't trust anyone. It's hard to trust anyone these days. You can't just trust everyone. You know, close friends and family are great people. So yeah, just them, just what family members are saying, you know, word of mouth from your friends about your area of expertise and growing your business. Word of mouth is a powerful thing. So word of mouth and referrals, and just whatever website you're on, just ask them, hey, do you mind if I get a referral from you? Do you recommend anyone? It depends on what career path you're on. Like, for example, if you're a life coach, you know, hey, you recommend any clients, you know, whatever you do, whatever in sales you're in, whatever area you're in, you know, you might be surprised when you ask people, you know, it might come naturally to you. And I would just put yourself out there, you know, it couldn't hurt. You know, this is hard for introverted people. It's not very hard for extroverted people, but, you know, for introverted people, so you kind of have to just improvise, you know, you have to experiment, get out there a little bit, especially as a business owner. It's kind of what we all sign up for.
Awesome. Incredible. I'll have to check those one out. Do you think it's easier today or harder for new business owners like, you know, Maria was talking to earlier on today, starting out than it was for you when you got started? And if it is, you know, why? Or maybe why not? Yes.
I think it's very much easier. It's very much easier for new business owners starting out today than it was for me when I first got started. It's very much easier. We're living in the consumer generation. We're living in, I think it's Generation Z, right? And there's even a generation that is a current generation. It's called the consumer generation. That's back. That was before us, and now they're saying that it's the consumer generation again. So that's after the Z generation. That what that means is everything is buy this, buy that. Everything is an ad these days, or a commercial for buy this product, buy this food, buy this, buy that, buy. So money, credit card information, etc. You know, just ways to give, ways to spend. Right now it's the current generation to spend. And so this makes it really easy for people to grasp what you're doing, what you're about, how to share it. All you have to do is copy and paste whatever you're about. All you have to do is go online and record. You know, electronically, it is in that aspect, it is a harder generation today. It is very much harder because certain things, you know, we weren't living in the internet generation whenever, you know, I first started out. We had barely been given laptops and things like that. This was in the 90s. And so in the 90s, the internet wasn't it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like how it is now. It wasn't advanced then. It wasn't as advanced. And so you know, you didn't have to figure certain things out. Now you have to figure everything out. Now there's so many different ways online to do things, so many different techniques. So virtually, it is harder. And this also makes it easier because all you have to do is copy and paste. You don't have to really do anything except you're a click away from something. You're a click away from a purchase. You are a click away from a video to play. You are a click away from everything coming at you visually. So that, yes, in that way, it is harder and yet it is easier.
Awesome. We are just coming toward the end of our time here together. And, you know, I always like to ask this question. Probably my listeners have heard me ask this many, many times. And it is, what final thoughts do you have to help motivate business owners to get started or take action right now and move their lives and their business to the next level?
As a business owner, show and motivate your business. Motivate those that you want to share your business with and show them something relevant, timely, make them laugh and teach them something. Show them something they've never seen before and keep that going. And that would take them to the next level. Relevant, timely, make them laugh and teach them something. If you do that, you'll keep them interested. And if you keep them interested, they'll keep coming back for more. And you'll have something that no one else has, and that will separate you, put you on another level. So those are my thoughts to motivate.
Outstanding. Well, Thank you so much for a great interview. And I know there will be people listening today that would love to connect with you and really get perhaps to explore some of the aspects that we did not manage to talk about in this episode. Where can they connect with you? Where can they find you? Have you got a website, or is it just social media?
Yes, my website is on my Instagram page. It's at Higher Living Holly. Again, at Higher Living Holly. There's a link in my bio. You can click on that link and it will have my book, and it will have my motivational video before reading my book to kind of give you a synopsis about my book. It's about a mindset. Higher Living is about a mindset to have. And I also have my channel. It's called Holly Hester. My channel that I'm a host at. There's a sample of me hosting in fashion and my episodics of my Higher Living TV show and just other interviews that I have done. And I do have a Facebook, so I'm very easily accessible. And you can also Google me, Holly Hester Higher Living, and I'll pop right up, and it will be, and you'll see everything. You'll see that I'm a painter. I'm a portrait painter, an impressionist painter. I'm a host. I'm an author. And I'm a life coach, and you can see it all there. And yes, websites do help long term. I don't know about short term, but they definitely help long term because 90% of people are definitely online these days. So it helps.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. What a great conversation we've just had here today. And as we always say, never leave a place of discovering a new concept, idea, or a new way of doing things without scheduling a time when you're going to be implementing that. And the reason we do that is because when you schedule something, it is now known, proven that when it's scheduled, it is going to happen. And again, this is a coaching session. When you find yourself not doing what you had scheduled to do, you may want to find the reason behind not following through, because not following through in that area, that thing that is stopping you from following through could be stopping you from following through on other areas of your life that you need to deal with right now. And once you find that reason why, you'll be able to follow through on all areas of your life that you want to achieve. So again, make sure you circle that and do everything you can do. And one of the things that we've put in place to help you make sure you follow through is the community. And I know many of you are already part of the community right now. But if you're not yet a member of the community, can I ask you, just click the link below and you'll be taken to an account where you create your own account. Download the app onto your phone and just dive in and start talking to other people and ask your questions and begin to help other people as well. Until next time, live well, live with passion, know that the best is truly, I believe it is truly yet to come. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to Yeukai Business Show. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode and have gained valuable insights and inspiration from our amazing guest. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review to help us spread the word. Also, be sure to check out our Leadership Ultimate Success Mastermind program, which is designed to help you and leaders in our community to do great things and support each other along their leadership journey. Until next time, live well, live with passion, know that the best is truly yet to come.